Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Does Metal Have Soul podcast. I think this is episode number 8, is that right?
It's 8, yeah.
8, nice. And today we are going to be talking about or looking at the new wave of British heavy metal. And I'm going to introduce Melisa to, it's not really introducing, but I'm going to introduce Melisa to the band Iron Maiden. But more about that as we get there. So I am one of your hosts, Mr. Levi Clay, and I am here with my bareheaded assistant.
Bareheaded.
You've got a little teddy bear.
I did wonder whether or not I should wear a different hat every time. Because I'm going to run out of hats at some point and that'll make me sad. But you know what? For now, we have a new hat. So
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah. I've been very preoccupied with some creative work over the past few days. But I've been exercising a lot.
You have?
I know that. I know currently. Some of you watching will go, this fucking fat bitch been out exercising? Yes. As a matter of fact, I have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm feeling very sprightly.
Good.
Is that the right word?
We're in much better spirits than we were last week.
Oh, editing last week, I was like, this is it. No one's gonna tune in again.
I mean, no one tunes in anyway, but
But you know what I mean? People are gonna watch it and go, oh fucking hell, these miserable bitches in their moaning.
yeah, no, we are going to moan today, of course, but such is life. If you are watching the podcast, please do drop us a comment in that comment section below. It can be anything. You could just leave a comment that says boobies if you like. It all helps in the algorithm, but of course, it's much more appreciated if you give us something interesting to say, like what you thought about the things that we're saying, or what you think about Iron Maiden, or what your thoughts are on the new wave of British heavy metal, or any comments or suggestions. So do that in that comment section below. And while you're there, check out that link to Piano in the description.
Oh yeah.
And sign up for a free trial at Piano.
It's free.
It's free. You pay nothing, and they pay us. So it really is a big help. Go and check that out. It is all very much appreciated. Anyway, how's your week been?
Yeah, good. We're just.
You know what I'm heading for.
Yeah, I know. We're just stalling for time at this point. I'm just being like, everything's fucking magical. Now let's talk about that time when I nearly roundhoused an Italian man. Yeah, we went back to some of you both commented, and a few of you messaged me on Discord to be like, I'm sorry that you had to deal with that stupid fucking gig. But of course, being musicians, it's like being in an abusive relationship in that it's not good for you, it upsets you, but you go back anyway. So we were back in that venue on last Friday.
It was Friday, yeah.
Friday. And when I tell you
that it was so much worse.
So much
Despite the fact that there was a new booker in charge and you had a meeting with them and they listened to your concerns and put steps in place to make sure that didn't happen again. And we were told, don't worry, you're going to have a sound engineer. The sound engineer will be there at 8:45?
8:45.
Yeah.
And I would also point out at this stage that the meeting that I had with the booker went really well. I wasn't treated at any point like I was an inconvenience. In fact, when I floated the idea that having musicians that really care in your venue about how things sound because they want to market themselves heavily to your audience to get lots of people in the door was met all with really positive, very polite, very that's amazing. Don't worry, I'm sorry this happened to you. We're going to make it right. We're going to make sure that everything's great. So, of course, I wasn't skipping to the gig, but I was also like, yeah, we did it. We made a change. We made some good stuff happen. And tonight's going to be fucking great.
And it was the worst twice. And it probably actually wasn't any worse than any other time that we've played in that particular venue and had problems. But this time we were at breaking point. No, but we made it worse. So, sound engineer's supposed to be there at 1:45, 1:15 rolls around, he's still not there. 1:30 rolls around, he's still not there. Then I think at about maybe 22, he dawdles in very, very slowly. I just assumed he was a drunk punter.
No, but you didn't see him.
Right.
I saw him, or at least I saw him first. I don't know if you saw me interact with him.
No, I didn't.
So he walked up towards the stage, and I just assumed he was a punter as well.
At the side of the stage?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, because when I went towards him, because he seemed to be looking around, and when I went towards him, I was like, you all right? And he's like, yeah, fine. So I just naturally assumed he was being a nosy punter and wanted to see what was going on.
Of course.
No, mate.
No. So he shows up almost an hour late for his job. We just weren't in the mood for it. So rather than being like, oh, it's nice for you to be, nice for you to show up. I mean, that's essentially it. Nice for you to show up. We absolutely tore into this guy. Absolutely tore. And what was his response?
He shrugged his fucking shoulders and basically said, play music or go home. I don't care. And now, I will say this, and I said it to Levi, my anger, 21-year-old Melissa would have fucking blown a gasket and just been like, I'm sorry I have interrupted your day-to-day dealings of smoking weed and then talking to your friends about all the theories that you have come up with, and also writing long, rambling Tool-esque songs that you'll never play to anybody. I'm sorry to interrupt that, but you are actually paid to be here. And it just was one of those moments as well, because at one point, because I lost my temper in a very adult Melissa who's been through therapy kind of way, because it was very articulate, I didn't swear, and I kept my voice as level as I could. But at one point, he smiled and looked at you as if to be like, bitches, all right? Like, I don't know why the fuck you're looking at him, guy, because he's worse than me.
I'm going to be so much
worse than me.
And I gave him such a fucking hard time. And I know it's one of those where you're like, oh, I'm sure you gave him a really hard time. No, I can prove I gave him a hard time because
I felt a bit sorry for him at the end.
Because I videoed it. Because when he was like, well, just, I'm here now, so, you can either play or you can not play. I really don't care. I was like, I'm going to have to get my camera out and ask you to repeat that, please, sir. I need your bosses to know that your attitude when showing up 50 minutes late for your job, where at that point they will have paid almost £200 for us to sit on the stage and do nothing. Yeah,
that's not for lack of trying.
No, of course. Well, I want you to say that into the camera so I can then feed that back to your boss. And then I was like, oh, out of interest, who is your boss? And he was like, it's not important. And I was like, it's fucking important. Tell me who your boss is. He's like, you can find out who my boss is easily. And I'm like, easily means without struggle. Okay, easy would suggest me saying to you, sir, what's your boss's name? And you giving me an answer. And I've got this slimy motherfucker on camera for about 15 minutes, desperately avoiding actually doing answering any of the questions. But it's all right, because he told us he doesn't work for us. He doesn't work for us.
Again, my anger issues could never. I'm so glad that I'm a much more developed human being now, because that would have been the point where I'd be like, strip to the waist, let's go outside and I will show you exactly.
I think in any other situation, with how harsh we were being towards him, if he was in any position of right, he would have turned around and walked away.
Well, this is exactly.
But he couldn't turn around and walk away.
No, of course not. And this is the thing. Like, Levi will tell you, I'm always polite to every venue we go into. I'm always really, really friendly to everyone because I want to create a rapport. But also, it's fun. Being a musician's fun. So you want to make sure that you make friends in venues so that when you get there, you're like, oh, hey, guy, because you see them and blah, blah, blah. And it's really nice. And to have someone come up to me who I know is taking the piss out of the venue I'm working in, because there's so many of them, and they're not just musicians. Sound engineers can be really guilty of it as well, where they're collecting a paycheck, but they don't give a flying fuck about the venue or the job. They just want to not have to work in Tesco, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Which is fair, because I don't want to work in Tesco either. But also, I do my job well. Yeah. And the fact that he was just sliming around, just being like, I don't know what you want from me. And he, at one point I had 2 Italian people in my band. And I know that there's a cultural difference between a very laid back attitude of like, hey, listen, the work will get done. It's totally fine. Don't worry about it. But it wasn't that. His attitude very much was, I don't give a fuck about this job. I don't give a fuck about you. I want to just turn things on and go somewhere else and sit and doom scroll. And I cannot bite that kind of laziness. No. Because that's the kind of lazy person who will also corner people at parties and talk about their political views and how it's not fair the way they get treated and all the rest of it. It's like, you're a lazy fuck.
Yeah, but it's more just the short-sightedness of this is contributing to you not having a job in 5 years, And none of us having jobs in this industry in 5 years. It just reminded me of there's a Jimmy Carr, part of a Jimmy Carr routine from years ago where he's making a mockery of a cab driver. The cab driver driving along saying, I love being a cab driver, me, I'm my own boss, nobody tells me what to do. And Jimmy's right here, please. And that's what it felt like, being told, you're not my boss. It's like, I hear what you're saying, sir, but also, can I get more piano in the monitor, please? Like, you do as I ask, not the other way around.
That's just it, though. I've never taken that attitude with sound engineers. In fact, if anything, sound engineers I've given far more wiggle room as far as being a dickhead than anybody else, because I understand that being a sound engineer can be really taxing depending on the venue you're working in.
And they can sabotage you.
Well, this is also true. And I always said it when I was teaching employability in the music industry. Yes, that is something that I was teaching at one point. I always said to singer-songwriters, learn everyone's name, always be nice to your sound engineer. Always, without fail. Even if they look grumpy, try your best with them. But it just is, I was so galled. I was like, you're a fucking arsehole. And to be fair to him as well, because I tried to sort of be polite when he was doing levels. But at that point, I was just like, if this had happened the first night we were here, we would have been completely different.
Yeah.
But this is the 7th time this has happened.
Yeah.
The 7th time.
Yeah. But of course, and I'll finish it with this, we did get that glorious thing that happens every single fucking time, which is we got attitude from somebody because we just wanted to do our job. And he didn't see why he was needed and why we needed help or why any of this was important. But then he got our levels and we did a song. And afterwards, he came up smiling and said, you actually sound really good. And it's like,
almost like I'm very good at my job.
Yeah, it's almost like that's why we're paid to be here. And your job is to make sure we're here able to play for the customers so they stay here and keep drinking and having a good time.
Yeah. Do you know that's a weird thing that's plagued me throughout my career, and I'm not sure why it is. She says sitting in a teddy bear hat. I don't wear this to gigs. I should point out. A lot of people, when they don't know who I am, which is a lot of people, I'm not sure, but like they'll meet me and before they hear me, they just assume I'm going to be shit. I get that all the time. People coming up and going, "Oh, I thought you were going to be absolutely pish." I'm like, what is it about me that gives off an energy that I'm going to be shit at my job? Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I wanted to be very not too negative because I do realise that,
well,
everyone's life's got static.
For anyone listening to the podcast, they will obviously know that this isn't the first time we've spoken about it. I don't mean on the podcast. I mean, like, it's safe to assume that after that gig, you and I talked about it extensively in the car.
Oh, God, yeah.
Everything that you and I have said here on the podcast has been something that we have said to each other already in the last day and a bit. So
with less swearing, probably.
Yeah, but we're bringing this up not so we can rant or vent, because we've ranted and we've vented. We're doing it for your entertainment. We're telling you about this so you can know what it's like in the trenches and how bad it can be, and why when we say sign up for a free piano trial, like, there's a reason for that. I mean, actually, I could be the richest man in the world and I would still go out and play gigs like that because I like playing music for people. I really do enjoy that. But yeah. Who knows how many people are listening to the podcast? Not very many. And how many people will be listening to it over the coming weeks, months and years. Maybe some of you are young people that are looking to get into the music industry. And all I can say to you is I can look dead in the camera and say, please bring some passion into the industry. Don't let them beat it out of you. It's our job to beat these people out of the industry so we can bring it back to this glory thing where live music is something that people get really excited for, and they're like, we should go to that place because there's good live music on. And if everybody involved in the live music scene is good at what they do and they make good music and they put on good nights, then people will come to them and it becomes a thing. And the more passion is sucked out of that, the worse it becomes, and it feeds its own demise.
Wow.
There's a short for you.
I'm going to get that tattooed on my butt.
I mean, it was a big monologue. It was a big monologue, but to be fair, you've got a big ass. So
I've got a fat ass and right opinions. That's correct, Hazel.
Okay, right. Give me some Metalhead musings.
Okay, that was lovely. I did enjoy that. I did. You're very eloquent. Okay.
Just one last thing on that. It's like,
and another thing.
I say all those things and I mean all of those things, but all of these people that I'm talking about, they'll hear me say these things. They'll know I'm right, and then all they'll do is they'll go, "We better make sure nobody hears him say that stuff." Not, you know what, he's right. We should be better. It's, let's just beat this person out of the industry.
One of the things that, and sorry to double back, one of the things that I had a meeting with my band once, many moons ago, this is years ago, because I was having a real problem with drugs and alcohol in the band and just bad behaviour. And at that time, we were gigging solidly every single night. I had a meeting with them and I said, listen, this can't continue. I need everyone to understand you have to be here because you care about music and you're looking to create a long career with this band, or at the very least, a good experience with the band before you move on to your own projects. That's all fine. And I said, the only way we can do that is I'm now going to bring in a 3-strike rule. And that is not like James Brown, if you get a wrong note, you owe me $5. But if you come to work drunk, come to rehearsal high, any of these things, that's going to count as a mark against you. And then 3 strikes and you're sacked, you're gone.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, they treated me like I was ruining their time. It's like, oh, you're ruining our fun time now.
Yeah.
Oh, what you mean? You want us to treat this like a real job where we care? Oh, you're such a square, man. You're totally like.
Yeah. That's the other plague in the music industry. It's people that have this vision of, oh, I'm going to go and play music because, I heard stories about Guns N' Roses and how they behaved on the road, and I heard stories about Motley Crue and Ozzy Osbourne, and it's like, well, but that was a blip in the industry. That was a blip where the musicians could make obscene amounts of money, power themselves with cocaine. And that's just not how the music industry is anymore. You have to treat it like it's a job, like it's a business, and you have to give it that respect if you want to be able to squeeze out a life from that industry. Because I know all the people that you're talking about, and every single one of them has a fucking day job.
I mean, every single one of them does have a day job, and 2 of them at least went back the way they're now bedroom musicians that never go out.
Yeah. And it's to people like that, like, I don't have a day job because I take things seriously, because I love and respect the industry I'm in, and I want it to be the best it can be, and the best way to make it the best it can be is be the best I can be. And that means I don't drink when I'm working.
But I've not got an issue with people drinking while they're working. There's plenty of musicians I've worked with will have a pint on stage whilst they're performing.
Okay,
we're not
I don't get drunk.
We're talking about
Yeah.
miraculous,
Yeah,
or dropping bags of coke on the stage.
Well, it's because most of these people are like, oh yeah, I'm getting to play a gig tonight. What that means is, oh yeah, I get to get drunk tonight.
Yeah, they definitely treated me like I was spoiling their bad time, and that was the moment, kids, where I realised that there is a stark difference. There's 2 kinds of people who want to be musicians: people who really care about music, and people who just want to party and want it as a weird status symbol.
Yeah,
bizarre. I don't understand.
Come on, Metalhead Musing.
Metalhead Musing.
What you got for me?
This first one I've included just because it's funny.
Okay.
NC Mullins VA says, by the way, NC Mullins has commented before. I really always enjoy your comments. Mates, I just enjoy sitting down and hearing 2 people with thick as fuck Scottish accents ranting about rude people in a venue. Melisa described all your accents as ugly, but I swear it's the best accent to be angry in.
Right. We need to dial this back. Sir, what part of my fucking accent sounds Scottish to you?
Don't be rude to NC Mullins. I'll fight you.
I couldn't be more fucking London if I fucking tried. Actually, I could be a lot more fucking London if I tried.
Yeah, I that made me laugh. NC Mullins.
It made me laugh too.
I always love your comments. Levi has, but it just made me realise the stark difference. Like, it's kind of like American accents. There's a lot of American accents. And I don't necessarily hear them. There's 2 American accents I know of. One is like, "How you doing? Have a great day," and the other one is, "I told my mama the other day." So like Southern, or like, you know what I mean? I don't know what that was. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I just made it. It made me laugh.
Yeah,
you do sometimes say "I" though.
Aye. I'm not. I'm comedy angry. I'm not actually angry by that, because I don't want to say famously, but I have accent blindness. I'm not very good at picking up where people's accents are from.
When you hear that, what Levi's just said, and you look at Levi and you think he's an intelligent man, he knows some things. Yeah, he does. But also, he could literally we'll be watching a programme and we'll be 3 seasons in, and I'll be like, I honestly think that's an amazing accent he's doing, like whatever. And Levi'll be like, what accent? What? And I'll be like, oh, Glaswegian. I don't hear it.
No, I'll say, oh, is he Scottish?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm like,
well, it's because I hear the words people say, not how they say them. It's like I think about the thing that a person is saying rather than tone.
And
or it must be why it's the way it is.
When you say that, I just see that SpongeBob meme where he does the rainbow.
No, because as an adult I don't watch SpongeBob. But carry on.
I'm not even going to finish.
Cool.
I'm not even going to finish. I'm going to go to the next comment.
Yeah.
But thank you, NC Mullins. That was really sweet. It's lovely to see your name pop up. But no, he's evil. He's from England, and as we all know, people from England. Someone also pointed out that Levi is is it an anagram?
Levi is an anagram of evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realise, and now I'm like, oh god.
And vile.
It's vile, evil. Is there anything else before we move on?
I mean, there's only 4 letters in my name, so that's 16 possible configurations.
Aye, well. Okay, so Paul Walsh 2344 says, "Hi to Levi and Mel, long-time listener, first-time caller, and truth be told, it took me a few bites to get through this one." He was watching the Motorhead video.
Yep.
I get your format, but it does leave the opportunity in a video of your length to split it up into manageable chunks when you've got the rest of your life to get on with. But I wouldn't fuck with the format because I love seeing Melisa go off on one of her knicker-wadded rants. Knicker-wadded.
Knicker-wadded. I don't even know what that means.
I'm assuming it's a period reference.
Oh, I see.
But
yes.
I would say to you, Paul, that...
You went through the menopause years ago?
No, I can be mental 4 weeks of the month.
That is true.
I don't need
confirm.
a period to be mental. I know Melissa's a trained singer and a professional, so she has her perspective on Lemmy's vocals, critical but appreciative. I would have loved to see you two react to some Lemmy later, apparently less successful music. Specifically, I don't believe a word, for an opportunity to hear Lemmy's range. Regardless, I know you two don't respect or respond to viewers who only agree with you and are nice, which... Damn. So go fuck yourselves and the horses you rode in on. Thank you, Paul.
We're going to listen to I Don't Believe a Word now, but I wanted to just add, people talking about a length of the show. If you look in the scroll bar, we do section the show up.
We do.
With chapters. So we'll do intro, Metalhead Musings, news, and then thing. So that's a way that you're able to kind of split it and consume it at your own pace.
Yeah. But yeah, that was lovely, Paul. Thank you so much. I think that it's nice. We do like when people comment nice things because, I mean, I certainly do because I get a lot of people being like, ooh, actually. So it's nice to get nice ones. But it is also nice when people are like, I think you're nice, but go and fuck yourself.
It's worth pointing out that I Don't Believe a Word by Motorhead is from the Overnight Sensation album, which came out in 1999. So it's not...
Oh, wow.
It's not that modern.
It's still much later than I thought it was.
It's like a middle period. You could listen to Motorhead from like 2010.
Ugh.
So here's I Don't Believe a Word. As usual, I'm just going to point out, you won't hear it on the show, but we'll talk about it afterwards. You want to hear the full version with us hearing the music, head on over to Patreon. Okay, what do you think of
that? His voice sounded like much better than a lot of the things that we listened to. He's still obviously got that like people...
Well, when the chorus drops, it's classic Lemmy, yeah. Well, the voices... I think the production is fucking dreadful on that.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And the whole vibe is just off.
The change into the chorus was bizarre.
Yeah.
Several people really enjoyed my Lemmy impression.
Huh?
I was very proud of it.
Do it again then.
No, I won't. I've done it once, not doing it again. Yeah, I think he was kind of, the vocals he was doing in the verse were that sort of conversational style, where there's some singing teachers who believe that all of your singing, regardless of what you're singing, should only ever be above this volume, just this volume, talking volume, which personally I think is complete bollocks. Yeah. But it is nice.
It's funny how the teachers that have opinions like that don't really have any vocal chops, right?
It's funny that I can't remember any of their names. But it's like, I do enjoy that conversational da-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba, just sort of not really getting very loud. It's nice, it's soft, it's interesting.
So here's my hot take on that. I thought that was dog shit. Right, but let me tell you why. I thought the arrangement was awful. I actually liked the song. And it's one of those few times where I listened to that and I went, oh, you've written something that's quite nice here. I thought some of the changes in the chorus were a little bit jarring for the sake of being jarring.
Yeah.
But I think the arrangement that they have with the band playing like that really overpowered the vocals. And actually, I think the vocals in that verse were quite cool. The lyrics in that verse were quite cool. And the delivery was quite cool. And I think that if you'd arranged this song in a totally different way, in a more in like a soft rock setting, this would actually be quite cool.
You know what they should have done it in the arrangement wise? Arranged it like sometimes Typo Negative would arrange their songs, where in the verse, now granted, someone called Peter Steele in my comments the other day, and I nearly found out who that person was so I could turn up at their house and fucking something. But they called Peter Steele a Giga Chad.
Yeah, no,
that's incorrect, sir. But yeah, that's stripped back. Sometimes it's just Peter Steele talking or doing that conversational vocal and maybe a little bit of drums and bass. That would have been cool to hear that, because he was a wee bit too far back in the mix for me.
And I'd also say that they double tracked those vocals in the verse, and that was a terrible, terrible decision. When somebody is coming at you with like as you keep describing it, a more conversational tone, doubling them really undermines the intimacy of it. It doesn't feel like you're having a conversation anymore.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I would actually like to hear Lemmy doing more like that.
Oh, yeah.
But I was also very happy when he came in with the classic.
No,
Lemmy
I wasn't. No, I wasn't. Because then my brain was just like to Ace of Spades. Thank you for that, Paul. That was lovely to hear the little versey part.
So, do you have some news for us?
I do have news, and I was very selective of my news this time.
I know you have some news because I sent you a piece of news.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to read yours?
We
now?
literally talked about it earlier.
Hang on. I have many things going through my brain. Oh yeah. Sorry, I should be clear. You sent that to me as news. I thought you were just sending that as like memes.
Oh, it is memes, but it's news too.
Okay. Live music has seen lower ticket sales around the world recently for various reasons, but Gene Simmons' now cancelled tour was on another level. The Gene Simmons Band, less than 10% of tickets sold. Ooh, I'll put a picture up on screen as well. There's when you're buying a ticket for something you love, it's really nice to look up Ticketmaster and see lots of seats available. And you're like, oh, fuck yeah, I've got a really good choice here. Not so much if you're the artist, I feel.
Yeah, that's we were going to talk about this a couple of weeks ago because Gene Simmons advertised a $12,000 ticket where you could go and be his roadie for the day. Now that's a VIP experience.
You're paying.
A very important piece of shit.
You're paying to lift his shit? What are you going to do? Run out and get him a latte? I don't understand.
Yeah. You're paying money to save him money. That's the most Gene Simmons thing that there's ever been. And I've obviously not done it with you, but many times Gene Simmons will come up on the Guitar Souls podcast. And
don't talk about your ex in here.
I would be a not really a Gene Simmons defender, but I would give Gene Simmons a fair shake of the stick more than most people because Gene Simmons is like very disliked because he's a businessman. That's it. He's just a hardcore businessman. To his very core, he is a businessman first and a musician second. So he has a lot of takes about the music industry. And it's one of those where people don't like the things he says, but they really don't like the fact that I say, no lies detected.
Sure.
So I've given him a pass a lot, but why is this a surprise? Like Gene Simmons, interesting mind, terrible human being. I will confidently say terrible human being. An iconic part of Kiss, yeah, of course, absolutely. But if you had Paul Stanley on vocals, then yeah, I'd be interested in going and seeing you. But
I would go and see Paul Stanley give a talk about his life, at the end of which he just comes out of the closet and stops fucking about.
Like if Kiss went on tour without Paul Stanley on vocals, it's not Kiss. If Kiss went on tour without Gene Simmons on bass, I'd be okay with it.
Really?
Because Paul Stanley is Paul Stanley's voice.
I guess.
And we're going to talk about Iron Maiden today, who have had a few singers over the years, and obviously the impact that it has on a band when they change vocalist.
Mm-hmm.
I just think, when I think of Kiss, I think of Paul Stanley's voice.
Fair dues.
Doesn't matter if Gene considers himself the driving force or the main writer, or even if I know he doesn't own the band, but even if he owned the band, still Paul Stanley has got you by the short and curlies there because he's the voice, he's the front man.
I don't know much about Gene Simmons, to be honest. I do remember for a brief period in British history, and I hate saying British history, but he did do a programme on Channel 4 where he ran a rock school.
Yeah.
And
was it called just Gene Simmons School of Rock, I think?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was the cringiest load of bollocks I'd ever seen. And I was a child when this was out, and I was still like, this is lame.
Yeah.
But that's I have very few frame of reference for him. But when you sent me that, I was like, oh damn. But again, when you told me he was having people pay him $12,000 to be his roadie, I was like, get fucked, guy.
It must be a really terrible wake up call for Gene though, because if he goes out and Kiss, he could have tripled the price of all of the seats to that gig, and it still would have sold out immediately. And just having that realization that I don't have the same clout when I'm on my own. It's like Kerry King when he disbanded Slayer. And he realised, there's a new band and I'm the guitarist and I'm Kerry King, so it will be really popular. No, it's not the same, man. People want to see Slayer. People want to see Kiss. They don't really want to go see Gene Simmons.
There have been a couple of news things that I've read. Actually, I've not included them in my news because I've got other things.
Yep.
But Opeth's guitarist was talking about his original material that he wants to go on tour with. and which I'm sure is wonderful. And the ex-drummer of Slipknot is talking about his original material. A lot of other band members are going, but I have material too. And I'm sure they do, and I'm sure it's wonderful. But yeah, it must be difficult if you're in a big, huge band to suddenly be like, so I was, in fact, in Iron Maiden, but now I make Richie Blackmore style folk music.
Yeah. It's rare when that is a success to leave a band and then go on and be successful. And more often than not, the ones that are going to do that are going to be frontmen, like Ozzy Osbourne.
Sure.
So
makes sense.
Yeah, what else have you got for us?
Okay, and you'll be proud of me, Tobias
Forge.
There's several news articles on him, but I avoided them.
Are you telling me that you deserve a pat on the back for not talking about Ghost?
Yes. Listen, if it were up to me, not only would I have read out all of the absolutely the same news articles about him, I would have made us watch a YouTube video, and then I would have screamed spillways into the camera.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you've seen that the Pope is on death's door.
No.
How happy would you? Well, not that you're a Catholic, but how would you feel if the next Pope was Tobias Forge?
I'd convert overnight. It depends. It is still a cult. And I'm not okay with cults, but also I'm like, what are your parameters here? Is this a sex thing?
It's always a sex thing. It's always a sex thing.
If it was a sex thing, I have.
In every cult, someone's getting fucked. And it's usually kids.
God, I hate them so much.
Yeah.
Okay, latest news. Kiss announced their first show since their farewell tour. Bruce Kulick will be there too. Did anyone else think Kiss was over? Kiss, like every other band that has ever played their final tour, isn't done yet. Kiss has just sent an email out to their mailing list of kissonline.com website informing everyone of the Unmasked Kiss show as part of a 3-day Kiss Army Storms Vegas event. In celebration of the Kiss Army's 50th anniversary and the 30th anniversary of the first Kiss fan convention, Kiss Army Storms Vegas will take place at Virgin Hotels Las Vegas from November 14th to 16th, 2025. I
feel like you could have added that to all the Gene Simmons stuff we were talking about.
That's why I did it there. Well, it was one of those ones when I looked at it and it was Gene Simmons that was on the front of it in his full garb. And I thought to myself, I don't know much about Kiss, but I would go and see Kiss if the ticket was cheap or free.
No, but that's the thing, isn't it? So if you offered me a free ticket to go and see Gene Simmons tonight, I'd say no thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah? If I had to pay to go and see Kiss tonight, I'd go and see Kiss tonight. So they played Glasgow on, I think it was their farewell tour. Yeah, it was their farewell tour. And I was going to get us tickets. You had a gig. Though. You had a gig. And the reason I was going to get us tickets was it was on the day of the gig I was going to get us tickets because they hadn't sold all that well and they were buy one get one free.
Oh my god!
Yeah, so it would have been like £80 for both of us to go and see Kiss at the Hydro.
Motherfucker, we could have been to see... Hydro's a shite venue.
Yeah, I just don't like going to see gigs in big venues, and especially when friend of the show, Doug Cartwright, who I'm going to bring up when we talk about Iron Maiden for a reason that is weird, he saw Kiss at the Astoria in London, which is a venue that isn't there anymore, but I think it had a capacity of like 2,000 people. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to go see Kiss in a venue that fits 20,000 people in there when my mate's seen them in a venue that fits 2.
Sure. Oh, I mean, yeah, Hydro's a dreadful venue, so it probably wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Where was I gigging?
Saturday night gig somewhere.
Boo.
In some bar or some hotel, I don't know.
You keep on shining, you keep on shining. I wanna rock and roll all night. Okay, so other latest news.
Segue.
Yeah, so from now on, that's my segues. I'm just going to really tunelessly sing something, and then we'll just move on. I haven't thought of anything tuneless for this next segue, but I'll think of something, don't worry. In the spillways. Okay.
Segue.
But you also have to go segue.
Sure.
Okay. Spirit Box's Mike Stringer thinks it's funny people accuse the band of being industry plants. I haven't seen this.
I mean, to be fair, their singer's name is Courtney LaPlante, which is Courtney the Plant.
Yeah. It seems like any time a band strikes it, even semi-big, loads of people come running out of the woodwork crying about how that band is totally an industry plant. I'd imagine those people are miserable bastards, sad about their own lives, but whatever, it happens continuously.
They're right, though.
They are industry plants?
Spirit Box are an industry plant. They are. Do you want me to justify that?
Yes.
Every single band that is big and successful are there because the industry has allowed them to be there.
Oh, okay, I see.
Because someone at the record label has gone, we're going to put you into a position of power and influence.
Mm-hmm.
It's that. It's absolutely fucking that. So, all right, it's not quite the same in this day and age as it was, you know, in the 80s. But, like, if you look at bands in the 80s, every single one of them was successful because someone in the industry was like, yeah, we're going to fucking push you into success.
Yeah. It just goes on to say that Mike Stringer was saying, it's so funny that a lot of people think that we came out of nowhere and were manufactured by the music industry to make them loads of money. That would probably be one of the worst investments from any company ever. If you think of how long it has taken to get this band off the ground, it has been such a slow-moving process. And after 12 years playing in bands, we've finally gotten to the point where we can pay rent. I think people forget two things about Spirit Box. One, they put out their first EP in 2017, so they've been a band for 8 years at this point. Two,
which isn't a long time.
No, it's really not. Two, vocalists Courtney LaPlante and Stringer were both in I Wrestled a Bear Once. I thought that was like, it's fucking Italian or something. I was like, I wrestled a bear.
Yeah.
I wrestled a bear once prior to Spirit Box. Plus, they're married, so these two have been working together for quite some time. Spirit Box didn't just drop Tsunami Sea out of nowhere and explode.
That's such a strange thing to say. Like, oh yeah, we were in bands before Spirit Box. So hang on, you were in other bands, and then suddenly you were in a band that became very successful. Like, how is that defending your position? Like, I'm sure, well, probably not because they would have been like 17 or 18. But in manufactured bands, like, actually, you know what? We'll use Charlie Simpson from Busted as an example, right?
Oh!
You can't say, yeah, but I was in Fight Star before I joined Busted. Pretty sure Fight Star existed at the same time. And then go, well, he was in a band before Busted, so Busted, therefore, are not a manufactured band.
Yeah, I see what you... Because initially when you were like, they are an industry plant, I was like, huh? Surely you're not that person.
No.
But you were obviously meaning that, like, anyone that becomes successful is technically a plant.
Yeah.
Their company that they're working with has bought the consciousness of everyone to go and watch them.
It's maybe less of that in this day and age because the proliferation of music via the internet, like, it is possible to build a big following for yourself without industry input. But the second somebody, you know, I assume Spirit Box is signed to a major label.
I think, yeah.
So you've done a lot of work for yourself, you've built yourself a following, but then someone in the industry has gone, we're going to take this and make money with this.
Yeah, and also, like, I know Spirit Box has been used in many very big corporate things like games and WrestleMania and all the rest of that stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely not Poppy. Not Poppy, she's not Poppy. But yeah, so it's like, I don't listen, I'm saying these things as facts, not as judgment. Like, if you've become very successful as a band and it's doing stuff that's perhaps really, really commercial, if that's what you want to do and it makes you happy and it makes you pay your rent, as they say, go forth. Godspeed.
It's very much at the core of a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about on podcasts where the subject is this, metal music. What he's essentially saying there is, no, guys, no. We are authentic. We're still authentic. Please don't think we're inauthentic, because if the audience thinks we're inauthentic, then suddenly we don't have a job anymore. Because we're metal musicians, and the most valuable thing to our audience is they have to believe that we're authentic.
But what even is authentic? Okay, I'm not even going to get... I wrote a dissertation on this because I'm a loser. I wrote a dissertation, was it in my master's? It was called Authenticity as a Con. And it was just all about stuff like this. But the one thing that I find fascinating is when we think about jazz musicians, gospel musicians. Mm-hmm. When we think about the authenticity of a gospel musician, we would trust the authenticity, or look at the authenticity of Corey Henry as absolute, beyond authentic, because he was raised in the church, he was playing the organ in church, and also a lot of his music, when you listen to it, you can hear that influence and blah, 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 blah. But when your band is making, this is going to sound bitchy and I don't mean it to sound bitchy, when your band is making basically girly pop metal, where's the authenticity in that? Am I being a big bitch?
You're being a big bitch, yeah. Yeah, you're being a big bitch.
Why?
Because just because something's commercial, it doesn't necessarily mean that the person making it isn't making it authentically.
No, that's not the question I'm asking. Maybe I've worded it wrongly. I think what I'm asking is, if we look at someone like Spirit Box and go, yes, they are authentic, what is it about them that is the authentic part? Like, as metal musicians, are you expected to know or have played certain venues?
I think it's the idea that you've sat in a bedroom with somebody and you've written music with them, and that's how this thing came together.
Okay.
You know, we sat at the laptop and we wrote all of this and we did this, and we did this from the sweat of our own brow, not because of opportunity, not because we have an attractive female singer. Any more news?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay, fine.
I realised when I was looking at the news, or I was looking at the news that I had saved, that the other third piece of news I had just blurted it out when I was talking to you, which was ex-Slipknot drummer Jay Weinberg on his upcoming solo project. It's all stuff that is true to the music that I love. And it's basically him just talking about how he's really excited to create lots of new solo music and go and tour it and things. And I was like, good for you, sir.
Good for you.
Well
Must
done.
be nice having been in Slipknot, even if you were fired really unexpectedly. It must be really nice to have been in Slipknot, because now you'll be able to go on tour and people will spend, £40 a ticket to go and see you because you were in Slipknot. Meanwhile, we can't even get a fucking sound man to show up at a gig.
I was about to say, I wish I had been in a famous band at some point and I could just parlay that into like some bullshit tour or something like that. The only thing I can say is that I've used the same rehearsal space that Beyonce took a shit in once, and that's about it. That's about it.
Okay, so let's talk about music. So today, last week we did, it's a really tricky one, right? So initially when we started the podcast, the idea was very much, we'll start in 1969 and we'll talk about music from 1969, then we'll talk about music from 1970 and so on and so forth. But the problem with that as an idea is at the start of metal, there's very little happening. Mm-hmm. And as it starts to ramp up and the influence becomes bigger, more and more things are happening. So by the time, you do 1970, you've got maybe 3 things to talk about. But then, 1984 rolls around and suddenly you've got like 30 bands that all did something really big that year, and we need to cover all of them. And that doesn't, I think that doesn't really work for the format of the podcast. So we moved over into like talking about a band for the podcast. For each episode. But I'm still trying to do that relatively chronologically. Mm-hmm. Today we're going to talk about Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden formed in, I think, 75. Yeah, 75. But they didn't become like really big until the mid-80s. And we're not really doing mid-80s, but it's kind of the same. It was kind of similar with Motorhead, right?
I have some core memories of Iron Maiden that are not traumatic. So
we're going to talk about Iron Maiden today because Iron Maiden is like a big part of the new wave of British heavy metal. And I guess that would be the way I would kind of... What is it they say? Square the circle, circle the... I don't know what people say. There's a thing people say, right? This is how I'm going to make this work.
Square circle and square.
Square the circle with the triangle before you put it in the hexagon.
I don't know what people say.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm illiterate. Don't listen to me. So we did like early heavy metal, and then we talked about like what we would consider, at least I would consider the start and the influence of the speed metal thing, which is the Deep Purple. I think of those guys as the father of that. Black Sabbath being like the fathers of Doom, like the Doom influence. We talked Motorhead last week. Motorhead, which is very punk. Like it's got that, punk, and it's like pre-thrash, but it's still keeping that. It's like an evolution of the speed thing.
Right.
It's almost like you take the fast aspect of Deep Purple and you add in the punk politics, and you kind of get Motorhead, right? Iron Maiden are new wave of British heavy metal. So let's talk about the new wave of British heavy metal before talking about Iron Maiden. So this is so Melisa can learn things. That's the point of the podcast, right? So the new wave of British heavy metal, often abbreviated to NWOBHM.
How's that an abbreviation?
Yeah, I know. Are you supposed to say NWOBM?
I want to say NWOBM.
NWOBM.
Let's go with NWOBM.
Yeah, let's go see this NWOBM band. Because when you see NWOBHM, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say NWOBHM. I think that you write that, but people would still say New Wave of British Heavy Metal.
NWOBM,
yeah. So it was a nationwide musical movement that began in England in the mid-70s and achieved international attention in the early 80s. Editor Alan Lewis coined the term for an article by Jeff Barton in May 1979 issue of the British music newspaper Sound to describe the emergence of heavy metal bands in the mid to late 70s as punk rock declined amid the dominance of new wave music. Although encompassing diverse... What?
New wave is in actual, like, don't you
Yeah.
want me, babe? Just checking.
Yeah, although encompassing diverse styles inherited from rock music, the music of the new wave of British heavy metal, music of the Nwabum is best remembered for infusing early heavy metal with the intensity of punk rock to produce fast and aggressive songs. The DIY attitude of the Nwabum bands led to raw-sounding self-produced recordings and a proliferation of independent record labels. Song lyrics were usually about escapist themes such as mythology, fantasy, horror, and the rock and roll lifestyle. Nwabum began as an underground phenomenon, growing in parallel to punk and largely ignored by the media. Promotion by Sounds and rock DJ Neil Kay moved it into public consciousness and towards radio airplay, recognition and success in the UK. Its musicians and fans were largely young, white, working-class men who suffered the hardship of unemployment after the 1973-75 recession. As a reaction to their bleak reality, they then created a community separate from mainstream society to enjoy being in each other's company and their favourite loud music. The Nwabum was criticised as being local media hype for mostly talentless musicians.
Damn.
Yeah, nonetheless, it generated a renewal in the genre of heavy metal music and furthered the progression of the heavy metal subculture, whose updated behaviour and visual codes were quickly adopted by metal fans worldwide after the spread of the music to continental Europe, North America and Japan. So I'm not going to keep reading.
No.
But there's a lot that you can learn about the new wave of British heavy metal, and yeah, I think there's definitely a validity to it being like keeping metal alive. It's like with blues music, and we had the British blues invasion in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
After all of those guys sort of discovered those records and started making electric blues, that reinvigorated the passion of blues, and blues could potentially now be in the same place that jazz is in, if it didn't have that resurgence in the 60s. Like, jazz is pretty on life support, you know, in terms of cultural relevance, cultural significance, certainly compared to heavy metal music.
Yeah.
And we do see that in metal and in blues, like subgenres pop up. Western swing's a really good example of that. Western swing,
I love Western swing.
Western swing was popular for like a decade, and then it just essentially disappeared. It didn't last, and yeah, thanks to the new wave of British heavy metal music developed and went to go on and do things. So I'm just going to read some of these the names of just some of these early underground Nwabum bands.
Nwabum bands.
Yeah. Angel Witch, Iron Maiden, Praying Mantis and Samson from London, Son of a Bitch, who would later become Saxon, Diamond Head, Marseille. Imagine being called Marseille, but you're from Liverpool. White Spirit from Hartlepool, Witchfind from Derbyshire, Vardis from Wakefield, Def Leppard from Sheffield. Pour some sugar on me, bitch.
Oh yeah, we were pour some sugar on me. Yeah.
Raven and the Tigers of Pantang from around Newcastle.
From Newcastle.
Yeah, and of course Holocaust from Edinburgh.
Jesus Christ. Jesus!
Okay, you found a way to work that into the podcast this week.
Every time.
So that's new wave of British heavy metal now, or some of the early new wave of British heavy metal bands. Now, when I look at that list, if I had to put them in order of like relevance today, Iron Maiden obviously right at the top, followed pretty closely by Def Leppard. Yeah, then definitely Saxon. I think then Tigers of Pantang. People could definitely tell you about tell you who the Tigers of Pantang are, but I think it's very telling that when we look at these, very few of these bands actually have like clickable names on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So it was a scene, and I think that's part of what being a scene is, isn't it? You have the big bands, and then all the young kids around them, all their peers are playing music that's kind of similar, but there's only room for some of them to remain successful for a 40-year period. And I guess this is 75, it's actually 50 years ago now, half a century ago. Yeah.
Jeez.
Jesus.
No, we're only allowed one. We're one per customer.
Okay, fine. All right, so let's talk about actual Iron Maiden. Okay, so Iron Maiden are an English heavy metal band formed in Leighton, East London, 1975. So I lived in Leighton for a long time.
Boo! Boo to England and London especially.
Yes, 75 by bassist and primary songwriter Steve Harris. Although fluid in the early years of the band, the lineup for most of the band's history has consisted of Harris, lead vocalist Bruce Dickinson, drummer Nico McBrain, and guitarist Dave Murray, Adrian Smith, and Yannick Gers. Pioneers the new wave of British heavy metal movement, Iron Maiden released a series of UK and US platinum and gold albums, including 1980's debut album Killers, 82's Number of the Beast. First with Dickinson, who replaced Paul Di'Anno as the lead singer. So, what can we say about Iron Maiden?
So
what do you already know about Iron Maiden?
Okay, so I have done Iron Maiden on
Yes.
the channel a couple of times, but what I actually knew about Iron Maiden beforehand was, remember how I told you that like one of the things I used to get as a kid was just dumped in front of MTV to shut me up, which is how I learned about most things about music. There was like MTV had like a metal heavy rock style couple of hours in the day, and they played at one point Iron Maiden's "Cannot Play with Madness."
Must have been nice to get put in front of the TV and watch MTV. You must have had Sky TV. What a privilege. Carry on.
No, we had cable for roughly a year.
Oh, nice.
And I'm not still convinced to this day that anyone ever paid for it. So, so it was Cannot Play with.
Can I Play with Madness?
Can I Play with Madness? Can I play with madness? And all I remember was that it was like spooky tombs and just people being like, "Ooh."
Yeah.
And I remember being like, this is fucking great.
Yeah. I've actually never really been into Iron Maiden. Never.
I should be clear. I enjoyed that song. I was also probably 7. Yeah, about 7, I think. My biggest criticism of Iron Maiden is that everything I've heard and been suggested and recommended to go and listen to all sounds the same. It sounds the same, I'm sorry.
They certainly have a sound. The only reason the only reason I was never into them, I have a couple of their albums, but the only reason I was never into them is because they were somebody I came to later. You know, if I was kicking around in the 70s, then yeah, absolutely, I'm sure I would have been a huge Iron Maiden fan. But I discovered bands like Racer X first, and then went back to Iron Maiden, and it was like, oh, okay, I can hear how this band was an influence on the music that I actually like, and there are a lot of bands who are influences on things that I love, who I then got really, really into. But yeah, just never really got massively into Iron Maiden. But I have all the respect in the world for them as a band. You know what they've done. So Iron Maiden were formed on Christmas Day, 25th December 1975, by bassist Steve Harris, shortly after he left his previous group Smiler. Harris attributed the band's name to a film adaptation of The Man in the Iron Mask from the novel by Alexandre Dumas, as the title reminded him of the Iron Maiden torture device, which there is no record of them ever being used.
The pokey cupboards.
Yeah. The pokey cupboards. Please, can we start an Iron Maiden tribute band called Pokey Cupboard? We'll call you Bruce Dickinarse. You okay? You need a minute?
Bruce Dickinson!
It's much better than Bruce Dickens' son.
Bruce Dickinson!
You good? Can I carry on now? Yeah, okay. I'm not waiting. They originally used the name Ash Mountain, but most of the band members preferred the name Iron Maiden. After months of rehearsal, Iron Maiden made their debut at St. Nick's Hall in Poplar, 1st of May 1976, before taking up a semi-residency at the Cart and Horses pub in Maryland, Stratford. So this is where Doug comes up for the second time. Here's the Cart and Horses. And I think it was last Christmas I went down to London to do some filming. Mm-hmm. And I met up with Doug beforehand. We went for dinner in the Cart and Horses.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. That was actually the first time I'd ever been in there. I've been past it a million times, and they have, on the walls everywhere, the birthplace of Iron Maiden and all that. Yeah, before taking up that residency, the original lineup was short-lived, with vocalist Paul Mario Day being the first to go, as according to Harris, he lacked energy and charisma on stage. He was replaced by Dennis Wilcock, a Kiss fan who used makeup and fake blood during live performances, and had earlier played with Harris and Doug Sampson in the band Smiler. Wilcock's friend and guitarist Dave Murray was invited to join, but much to the dismay of the band's guitarists Dave Sullivan and Terry Rance. The frustration led Harris to temporarily disband Iron Maiden in 1976. The group reformed soon after, with Murray as the sole guitarist. Harris and Murray remained the band's longest-serving members and have performed on all of their releases. Recruited another guitarist in 1977, blah, 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 blah. Record contract, early days. Let's have a look. So, 1978, they recorded a 4-song demo at Spacewood Studios in Cambridge, hoping the recording would help them secure more gigs. It's funny is that you think back to a time like that, it's like, well, we're going to make a recording so we can get some gigs. You had to...
Yeah.
Band gave a copy to Neil Kay, who at the time managed a heavy metal club called Bandwagon Heavy Sound Soundhouse. After hearing the tape, Kay began playing the demo regularly at the Bandwagon, and one of the songs, Prowler, eventually went to number 1 in the Soundhouse charts, published weekly in Sounds magazine. Copy was also acquired by Rob Smallwood, so I'm sure you can see where this is going. They got a record deal.
Yep.
And they released their self-titled album in 1980, which debuted at number 4 in the UK albums chart, which is pretty impressive.
Look at me, I'm Iron Maiden, I got a record deal.
In addition to the title track, the album included other early favourites such as Running Free, Transylvania, Phantom the Opera, and Sanctuary. So would you like to check out some of that album?
I would like to hear Transylvania, yes, thank you very much.
Of course you would.
Frog finally admitted that Dracula is the greatest book that's ever been written. I don't know if that's what he said verbatim. In fact, he might have actually not said that at all, but...
Okay, so you want to check out Transylvania, do you?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. You get the idea of Transylvania.
Okay.
Thoughts?
The basis is very good.
Yeah. They're all good. They're like, they can all play it.
Am I sad that there was no, like, lightning and harpsichord and stuff to do with Dracula? Yeah, it was good.
Have you heard Phantom of the Opera?
No, I have not.
Yep. All right, what can you say about that?
I like the harmonies on the...
Yep.
That was nice. I think the mix is strange. There's a weird juxtaposition in the rhythm of them doing that. That feels straightforward, but at the start there was like a weird, almost like stumble in the rhythm. I enjoyed it. It was cool.
Yeah, it sounds old fashioned now.
Yeah, I think here's the thing. I don't think there's going to be much in Iron Maiden's back catalogue that I'm gonna really dislike, because I think that's one thing that we can say about Iron Maiden is that, or maybe this is bitchy. You may have to stop me on this one. And I don't think they ever took any massive risks in their music. And when the symptom of not taking massive risks is you'll get people who love your music, but I don't think you'll find anyone that will really hate it unless they had to listen to it on repeat in Clark's. You know what I mean?
That's an interesting way of looking at things, but I think I know what you mean. Yeah, fair. So in 1981 they released a second album, Killers. Although many tracks were written prior to their debut release, it had 2 new songs, Prodigal Son and Murders in the Rue Morgue. The latest title was taken from a short story by Edgar Allan Poe. Unsatisfied with the production of their debut album, the band hired veteran producer Martin Birch, who would continue to work with Maiden until his retirement in 1992. The record was followed by the band's first world tour, debut performance in the United States, opening for Judas Priest at the Aladdin Casino in Las Vegas. Yeah, Killers marked the band's USA albums chart debut, reaching number 78 on the Billboard 200. Booked 132 shows to promote the album, including their first concert in Belgrade, Yugoslavia.
Damn.
So, want to check out something from Killers?
Sure.
So, the most popular track on Killers is Wrathchild. So, here you go.
It was groovy.
Yeah, groovy.
It was very groovy.
The thing I would say is, I'm trying to think of everybody that we've listened to. Like, when you think of Sabbath, Tony Iommi's guitar playing is not particularly proficient. Fair?
You said that. I didn't
But
say
he's a
that.
blues rock player, you know?
Sure.
Blackmore's playing is definitely more proficient. And
Sure.
he's got moments that are pretty cool, but obviously the development in the technology and people's approach to playing the instrument has developed a lot. So I think the guitar solos on these are evident of that. You know, they are more controlled and confident. It's probably the best way I would describe them.
The production on that was much better, and also they've panned the lead vocal in the chorus. They've doubled it and panned it into both ears, which gives us really wonderful space to the vocals in the chorus, which is cool.
Yep.
I like stuff like that.
So, what do you think about Paul's vocals?
Yeah, they're nice. They're this is kind of like, I wouldn't say that his voice is something that iconic like Dio, where it's like, oh, if you take him away, I'm not going to enjoy it.
It's funny because I was going to say he sounds like a bargain basement Dio without any of the high stuff. If you listen to his low register stuff,
I wouldn't put him in the same bucket as Dio, frankly. Yeah, he's got a nice...
He's Timu Dio.
Again, I wouldn't put... There's very few singers that I will put in the same box as, not even Graham Bonet.
Okay, so by 1981, Paul Di'Anno was demonstrating increasingly erratic behaviour, particularly due to his drug usage. Yeah, about which Di'Anno comments, "It wasn't that I was snorting a bit of coke though. I was just going for it non-stop, 24 hours a day, every day. The band had commitments piling up that went on for months, years, and I couldn't see my way to the end of it. I knew that I'd never last the whole tour. It was just too much. Deanna was dismissed following the Killers World Tour, with the band already having selected his replacement. After meeting with Rod Smallwood at the Reading Festival, Bruce Dickinson, formerly of Samson, not Saxon, Samson, auditioned for Iron Maiden in September of 81 and was immediately hired. The following month, Dickinson went out on tour with the band on a small headlining tour of Italy and a one-off show at the Rainbow Theatre in the UK. For the last show, and in anticipation for their forthcoming album, the band played Children of the Damned and 22 Acacia Avenue, introducing fans to the new material. Here's where things really happened. 82, Iron Maiden released their third studio album, The Number of the Beast, which became the band's first #1 record of the UK albums chart. It was a top 10 hit in many other countries, reached number 33 on the Billboard 200. At the time, Dickinson was in the midst of legal difficulties with Samson's management, was not permitted to add his name to any of the songwriting credits.
Jeez.
Yeah, although he still made what he would describe as a moral contribution to Children of the Damned, The Prisoner and Run to the Hills.
Run to the hills.
Yeah, the band embarked on a world tour dubbed Beast on the Road, shows in North America, Japan, Australia and Europe, including a headline appearance for 40,000 people at Reading. Iron Maiden played 188 shows in 10 months.
Damn.
Yeah. So if we look at Number of the Beast, pretty iconic album. Invaders, Children of the Damned, The Prisoner, 22 Acacia Avenue, Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills, Gangland and Hallowed Be Thy Name. Which of these have you heard?
I've heard Hallowed Be Thy Name, Run to the Hills and Children of the Damned, I think. Yeah.
So not Number of the Beast?
No.
Okay, we'll give Number of the Beast a spin then. Good tune, and yeah, very popular. Second most popular tune on the record. I'm sure you've heard it. Yeah, so this is Bruce's introduction.
His moment.
Yeah, production is solid. And what do we think of Bruce's vocals?
Yeah, here's the thing. Bruce has a great voice.
He does. Certainly here.
Yeah, and I still think right up until recent.
No, it's not. It's not gone to shit, but his voice has declined just as everyone does as you get older.
Absolutely. He's aged, and vocals unfortunately age with you. There's nothing you can do about it. The worst thing you can do is try and capture what you could do when you were 20. The best thing you can do is evolve past it and start singing differently. But Bruce sounds fantastic. Did you know that he's a pilot and he's also a ninja, and he actually cures cancer sometimes? This
is like 43 years ago. That's cool to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I like the production and everything. It's also like they obviously had a theme that they wanted to go with. They had an idea of like, branding's the wrong word because I don't think that was what they were thinking. You know what I mean, with the covers and the 666 and children.
Well, we're going to come to that. The covers.
Oh, okay. It's cool. It's really cool, and it sounds great, and I can't fault it.
I would have been super into this if I was, a teenager in the 80s.
I might have been. I very much like Can of Worms of Madness. What is the...
Can I play with madness?
Can I play with...
Can of Worms with Madness. I like that. I think that was sung by Paul Dickens. Not... Bruce, sorry, Bruce.
Can of Worms is Madness!
Segue. Yeah, so in 82, drummer Clive Burr was fired and replaced by Nico. Previously toured for Trust. So after Peace of Mind, yeah. So the next record was Peace of Mind. So Peace of Mind came out in 83. It reached number 3 spot in the UK, number 14 on the Billboard 200. Peace of Mind features singles The Trooper, A Flight of Icarus. Are you familiar with The Trooper?
No.
Okay, iconic. We'll go with The Trooper because it's a banger. 500 million streams on Spotify. Oof. So I've played. Actually, I often, back when we used to have a residency in Butterfly and Pig, I would often play The Trooper as a melody. So you might hear it and you might go, okay, sure. I remember you playing that. Clam in the boat.
How the fuck did you hear that?
I don't know if you knew this, but I am a professional transcriber.
You are? Wow!
Yeah. See the house you live in? My ears paid for it.
Oh, wow.
So, I hear music. That's my superpower. I'm the world's worst superhero.
You do hear things sometimes. Like I'll play stuff that I've written to Levi, like, and it's very much its infancy, and Levi will be like, yeah, but that melody doesn't go with that chord.
Yeah, it clashes.
It clashes. And I'm like, Get fucked, Four Eyes.
So a little clip. What do you think of the track?
I enjoyed it. It's very energetic.
Yeah.
There's also like some kind of cool phasing.
Yeah, there's a phaser on the harmony vocal
which is really
O's.
cool. Again, anything you can do to add space, noise, air space into recordings, I always think is cool as shit. Bruce's voice sounds great, guitars sound great. The guitar tone is this really almost like cupped boxy feel. Which I think is quite stylistic for that period of time.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. It's quite warm, even though it is like, it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
It's like a muted trumpet. So yeah, I enjoyed.
Yeah, it's funny actually. So the phaser on the vocal harmony, I immediately, when that came out, there's a phaser on that vocal harmony. That's really interesting. Now, if prior to listening to that, if you said, Levi, I want you to sit down and record a cover of The Trooper as accurately as you can, but you can't listen to it, I'd get most of it.
Yeah.
The drums wouldn't be right, but I'd get something. But the bass, the guitars, like the vocal melody, all that, I know this song really well. But not in 100 years would I put a phaser on the vocal harmonies there. But it's a really nice touch. It's a very nice touch. So after the success of Peace of Mind and the supporting tour, the band released their 5th studio album, Power Slave, in 84, which features 2 Minutes to Midnight.
2 minutes to midnight.
Yeah. Ace is High.
The ace is high, the ace is high.
Yep, that's the one. The title track and Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, based on Samuel Taylor Coleridge's poem, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. Power Slave was another chart success, reaching number 12 on the Billboard 200, eventually number 1 in the UK. The band's 5th album sold over 4 million copies in its first year after the premiere. Should we check out a track from Power Slave?
Sure.
So you already know 2 Minutes to Midnight, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, then I guess it has to be Ace is High. But apparently you know that one already.
Ace is high, the ace is high, Lord. Oh.
You get the idea.
Yeah. It's very fast.
Yeah, and that's their sound. So they released a live album, Live After Death, and then Somewhere in Time. So Somewhere in Time is the start of what you would consider to be their experimentation period.
Okay.
They added different musical elements for their 86 studio album, Somewhere in Time. This is your year, yeah. Somewhere in Time, these focus on synthesized bass and guitars to add textures and layers to the sound. The release performed well across the world, particularly the single Wasted Years, but included no writing credits from Dick and Us, whose material was rejected by the rest of the band.
Oh!
Yeah.
You mean I can't be in the band?
Well, yeah, that's where that goes, yeah. So, yeah, it did well. Would you like to hear Wasted Years?
Absolutely. So, damn. Like, I don't dislike it, but kind of like what I was saying, Iron Maiden don't, like, I love that the start of that paragraph that you read out was them, they decided to add different musical elements.
Well, you need to listen to the rest of the album really to give it like a fuller picture.
You know, again, it's not bad. It's just it's a little too inoffensive for me. And Bruce sounds great. Some of his phrasing sounded which is not like Bruce at all.
Well, he didn't write it.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Why would they not let Bruce? Why would they not accept his material?
Maybe his ideas were dog shit at that point. Maybe he wanted to sing about flying planes or
flying planes.
Yeah,
planes fly anyway.
I know exactly. The experimentation evident on Somewhere in Time continued on their next album, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, which was released in 1988. Good year. A concept album, now you know I love a concept album, recorded at the Musicland Studios in Munich, and based on the 1987 novel Seventh Son by Orson Scott Card. It was the band's first record to include keyboards, which were performed by Harrison Smith. Dickens' enthusiasm was also renewed as his ideas were accepted for this album. Another popular release, it became Iron Maiden's 3rd album to hit the number 1 in the UK charts, reached number 12 on the Billboard 200.
Nice.
So, you want to check out something on here? Sure. It says that it's, one of the more popular albums, but there's not a single track in there that has 100 million streams. But
Can of Worms is madness.
Can of Worms with Madness is on this album, and I think that I don't know how you feel. Obviously, it's not a thing in soul music.
What?
Concept albums.
No. Well, that's not true.
Are there any soul albums where the idea of the album is to tell a story from start to finish?
Marvin Gaye's What's Going On has political themes throughout it.
Yes.
And he is definitely trying to make statements, but I think that's the difference.
Yeah, it's not a story.
Well, that's what I was saying. There's a cultural element to soul music where it's black voices telling black stories.
Sure.
So whilst there might be storytelling as kind of, concepts like there's not many soul albums that like we're going to have this whole album be about the idea of fear within the books of blah blah. That is not.
Yeah, but I'm talking more like, so this album is going to be like, we're going to do Lord of the Rings, and we're going to tell the story of Lord of the Rings across the.
There's not a lot of that, if any.
I love that shit because I'm an album guy.
Some.
I'm not a singles guy. I'm an album guy. I want to sit and listen to an album. So if you can lure me in with an album where the entire album ties together into one long story, I'm so into prog. I listen to concept albums on shuffle.
Loser.
Yes. So Can I Play with Madness is on this record. I feel I should give it a spin just to remind you how much you hap it. Let's try that again. How much you like it. But then we'll do The Evil That Men Do. Okay. So this is Can I Play with Madness. Can of Worms. With Madness.
It's madness.
You know that one.
Ah, the chorus.
Good. The Evil That Men Do. So, I was just thinking about that track there, and concept albums are like, well, of course you should love concept albums, and for the same reason I love concept albums, because I love musicals.
Musical.
And when you think about a concept album, you could describe a concept album as a musical without the stage show.
Listen, some of Bumblefoot's albums.
Now, they have musical like qualities to them, but it's not that he's trying to tell a literal story. So if you do like Abigail.
Oh, fucking King Diamond.
Yeah. Right, so they put out a couple more records, Fear of the Dark in 92. But here's the fun part, right? So in 1993, Dickinson left the band to pursue his solo career. Wonder how that went. But agreed to remain for a farewell tour with 2 live albums, later re-released in one package. The first, a real live one, was released in 93, blah, blah, blah. Dickinson left the band. Tour did not go well. Steve Harris claimed Dickinson would only perform properly for high-profile shows, and that on several concerts he would only mumble into the microphone. Dickinson denied he was underperforming, saying it was impossible to make like Mr. Happy Face if the vibe wasn't right. The news of the exit from the band had prevented any chance of a good atmosphere during the tour. Dickinson played his farewell show of Iron Maiden on the 28th of August 1993. The show was filmed, broadcast by the BBC, MTV, and released under the name Raising Hell. What do you do when Bruce Dickinson, who's been with the band for as long as he has been, what do you do? Who do you replace him with?
I feel I don't know the answer to
George Michael. No.
Oh my God, no. He's a beautiful soul singer.
So in 1994, the title track from Fear of the Darkness album received Grammy Award nominations for Best Metal Performance, a first for Iron Maiden. The band listened to thousands of tapes sent in by vocalists before convincing Blaze Bayley, formerly of the band Wolfsbane, who had supported Iron Maiden in 1999 to audition for them. Harris's preferred choice from the offset. Bailey had a different vocal style from his predecessor, but ultimately received a mixed reception among fans. After a 3-year hiatus, a record for the band at the time, Iron Maiden released their next studio album, The X Factor.
Ew.
Well, it was before The X Factor was a thing. So
No, still ew.
Yeah. The band had their lowest chart position since 81 for an album in the UK, debuting at number 8. However, the album went on to win Album of the Year awards in France, Spain and Germany. It includes the 11-minute epic Sign of the Cross, the band's longest song since Rime of the Ancient Mariner, as well as singles Man on the Edge, based on the film Falling Down, and Lord of the Flies, based on the novel Lord of the Flies. The release is notable for its dark tone, inspired by Harris's divorce. So, yeah, would you like to hear something from The X Factor?
Sure.
Because this, of course, is it doesn't have good plays. So obviously we'll listen to Single Man on the Edge. But this is so you can hear Blaze Bayley. So really, I imagine thumbnail for this video: Paul, Bruce, Blaze. Like, who do you prefer? Let's find out.
Oh, dearie me, Blanche. He's got a good voice, but it's just a different band now.
Yeah.
And I know we've said it a couple of times, and I'm sure people are sick of it. And I'm sure there's those who agree and those who are like, get fucked. But I just think that it changes the tone. So even though they're still doing that very Iron Maiden thing of like do 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 do, it's just like different. It's totally even at the chorus where Blaze is obviously Blaze, which is definitely not his name. His name is Gary. Is going up into a sort of not higher part of his register, but certainly he's pushing up. He's pulling chest up. He's still kind of going, falling down. Everything's quite straight. That's not bad. That's just the way some people sing. But we're also so used to fucking Bruce being like, wah! And having all of that.
Yeah. It didn't go well with Blaze in the band.
Surprise.
So they entered into talks to Dickinson to rejoin the band in 1999, along with guitarist Adrian Smith, who was telephoned a few hours later. With Yannick Gers remaining, Iron Maiden now had a 3-guitar lineup, nicknamed the Three Amigos, embarked on a hugely successful reunion tour. And that's, so we are going to get, I'm going to open that now, but we'll come to it. So Ed Hunter, whose track listing was decided by a poll on the group's website, also contained a computer game starring Eddie, the band's mascot. So what do you know about Eddie?
When Eddie said he didn't like his nothing. That was from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I don't know. Oh, I see. Okay,
so
sure.
Eddie is on every album cover.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
And if I was a bigger Iron Maiden fan, I'm a big Zombicide fan.
Sure.
I would have got all of the there's Iron Maiden packs for Zombicide, and it's different abominations
cool.
of Eddie from different, like, I think they have a number of the Beast Eddie and the Killers Eddie, Peace of Mind Eddie, the Power Slave Eddie,
that's so
Somewhere
cool.
in Time Eddie.
Doesn't Megadeth have a
Yes. That's Vic Rattlesnake.
Vic Rattlesnake.
Yeah. So Eddie, also known, we'll talk about Eddie just briefly. Eddie, also known as Eddie the Head, is the mascot for Iron Maiden. He originally a papier-mâché mask used in Iron Maiden's stage backdrop. The band transferred the name Eddie from the mask to an illustration by Derek Riggs, used by the band's debut album cover. Although he's occasionally described as zombie-like in the press, Eddie assumes a different guise relating to the themes of individual albums and the corresponding world tours. He's been a cyborg, an Egyptian mummy, a lobotomized mental patient, a cloud, a samurai warrior, and a soldier. I think Eddie is cool, and he is, just a big feature in everything the band do. He's on the plane. He's just an iconic part of Iron Maiden and the Iron Maiden imagery. That's good business, right?
Yeah, it's cool.
Being a band and having a mascot.
Yeah, I like the multimedia of bands when they decide to do other things other than just music, where they include like specific artwork and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. So they continued on. They're still going to this day. They did Brave New World. Yeah, Brave New World in 2000. It was a Rock in Rio live album. And so I remember Dance of Death coming out when Dance of Death released.
Mm-hmm.
Dance of Death was the single for that. Death on the Road, Matter of Life and Death, yes. So they released that in 2006. And their last album, I believe, Senjutsu, I think it's called. Oh yeah, the Book of Souls. And then, Senjutsu, out in 2021. And I thought we'd just finish with the music video for the single from that.
Oh, okay.
Which was The Writing on the Wall. Yeah.
Okay.
So see what you think of that. So you can see what Bruce's voice is like in this day.
Sure.
We'll listen to the whole thing. I like the music video for it. So how do you feel about
that? That's an amazing music video.
Yeah. Song's nowhere near as good, but...
No, I think that... I love it. I love great music videos, and I said it in one of my recent music videos, in one of my recent reactions, just about how metal is weird because you've got things like this, but then in modern metal there's just weird, and I know it's a lot of the times to do with budget, there's weird influx of music videos where they're just standing in a dark warehouse being intense, and everyone in the band's got a black shirt on, and I fucking hate it. It's just... Yeah.
Well, it makes sense because at this point, every single member of Iron Maiden is a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
Therefore, you can spend a fortune on your music videos
Absolutely.
and make them vanity projects. That was a video written by Bruce.
Yeah, I will say one thing about one of the lyrics I take umbrage.
Go on.
Full umbrage with. Across a painted desert lies a train of vagabonds. All that's left of what we were, it's what we have become. Once our empire's glorious, but now the empire's gone. I'm sorry, but if you want to describe the English empire as glorious...
Oh no, I think you're misinterpreting there.
I hope so.
Yeah, he's not talking about British. He's not talking about Britain in general. He's talking about society as a whole.
Oh, that's fine. Because I was like,
because there's Britain's in there and China's in there and America's in there. But but fair to them, if their opinion is the British Empire used to be a great empire, the British Empire at one point was a great big empire.
Well, great big, sure, it was great big as in large, great as a sort of a positive,
powerful.
Evil. I would say evil.
In the same way the Roman Empire
was evil. I think it was a really fantastic music video. I think you're right. When you've got a lot of money kicking around, you can do stuff like that. I really love that Eddie, the Ninja Eddie.
Yeah,
that was
3D.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, it's a shame that not more people can do stuff like that, because I imagine it will create a lot of really wonderful music videos. I much prefer that than a lot of other sort of like emotional.
But here's the thing, isn't it? Like the day of the music video is also gone.
It's so gone.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like, my MTV memories, that year we had cable we didn't pay for. Like, it was so cool to me because at that time there was all of these amazing music videos. Even soul and R&B artists like En Vogue had big ass fucking productions. Janet Jackson was out here in China making crazy videos.
Well, they had the money for them because the industry generated it, but also you needed it to stand out. Whereas now, sure, music videos on YouTube, they are a thing, but people are consuming their music on Spotify. I don't think people that listen to music on YouTube. People don't watch music on YouTube. Sure, some people do, but I don't think that's how people are consuming music in this day and age. So the music video is just not quite as important as it once was.
No, which it makes me so sad, because I think it is such a cool, clearly done right. And it doesn't need to be, you don't need to spend millions of pounds. I think there's plenty of artists like Orn Levay who made this whole music video, which was like, it was like a stop motion life animation. So there was no stop motion characters. It was just himself. And he was stop motioning himself in his environment. And, he did it in his bedroom. It wasn't exactly swish, but it looks amazing. And it also adds like another beautiful layer of expression to the song that he created that I listened to more because of the music video.
Well, this is going to be a nice way to end the show then. I believe you have a new music video coming out on Friday.
I do! Hooray! Yes. Friday is the release of my new single, Not Today. There is an accompanying music video, which some of you watching right now might actually be in. Don't worry, I don't have a camera in your bathroom. It's just that some people from the channel and your channel did actually give over footage of themselves. It's a really fun one. Check it out. It's not the most complex musically complex song you'll ever listen to, but it's a chill listen.
It's a good vibe.
It's a good vibe.
So go and check it out. Go and check out all of the links in the description. Get yourself a free piano trial. Leave us a comment in the comment section.
I thought
subscribe.
You said comment sex. I was like, oh.
Leave us sex comments. and until next time.
Suck a bag of Richards. Yay! Don't be rude.
Can you see the writing on the wall? Can you see the writing?